Buffy, you've almost got it.
Yes. When are you off to America?
I'm going in the next couple of days, actually, so I thought I'd better brush up my Star-Spangled Banner.
Yes.
Well, you have to. You have to be able to play that, otherwise they won't give you a visa. Terribly sticky about that. Toscanini waited for years and years.
Mind you, you can see their point of view. If they didn't have these regulations, any old riffraff could get in.
Yes. They've got a lot of riffraff there already, haven't they?
That's the first thing that will strike you.
The riffraff, I mean.
No, Buffy, the first thing that will strike you about the Americans is they're not English.
Well, of course they're not English, they're American.
Now, what I mean is they're not English. They're not of English stock. I mean, you only have to look at the names. Lefkowitz, Ribblewitz, Vaseline. Those aren't English names.
They used to be.
No, they never were.
I mean, there used to be very good English stock there, Anglo-Saxons.
Puritan.
Exactly, yes. It was the Statue of Liberty that started the rot.
How was that?
Well, you see, they put up the statue, and I mean, it's a lovely statue.
Well, it's a lovely
beautiful statue. Then some idealistic Johnny went and inscribed on the bottom all this business about, give me your poor, your huddled masses. Well, of course, people did. The huddled masses leapt at the opportunity. They came over in droves.
Bred like rabbits.
Died like flies.
And spread like wildfire. The whole place was swamped.
Isn't there a very serious colour problem over there?
Yes, there is, but you won't have any difficulty.
I think there is a very real danger of seeing the colour problem simply in terms of black and white.
It is a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah. But I gather the Negroes are sweeping the country.
Yes, so they are. It's about the only job they can get. Very well, they do it too.
They're sweep beautiful sweepers. Born sweepers.
And what's all this black muslin I hear they're wearing?
No, Buffy, they're not wearing it, they're joining it. It's a movement rather than a cloth. Of course, Buffy, one thing you will notice about America, and that it's a very young country, rather like Ghana in that respect.
Of course, they have inherited our two-party system, haven't they?
How does that work?
Well, let me see now. They've got the Republican Party, you'll see, which is the equivalent of our Conservative Party, and then there's the Democratic Party, which is the equivalent of our Conservative Party, you'll see. And then, of course, there are the Liberals in the shape of people like, yes.
Are the Liberals Democrats or Republicans?
Yes. I mean, as is convenient for them.
Oh, I see, yes. Of course, you know, the Americans must be frightfully jealous of our royal family.
Right. Except there is a sense in which the Queen is the President and the Prime Minister all rolled into one.
One what?
Exactly. That's the whole dilemma of the American Constitution.
Mind you, I think he's doing an awfully good job. He's a very cultivated fellow, too.
Very cultivated.
Yes, I understand he's taking steps to federalize the avant-garde.
What an exciting concept. Of course, Buffy, one thing you will notice about the Americans, God bless them, that's they're terribly naive about sex.
In what way?
Exactly.
They're terribly naive about it. I mean, they think of sex in terms of beautiful blonde women with huge breasts and pink skins and blue eyes.
Pathetic.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. How do you think of sex?
I don't, actually. At least I try not to. Otherwise, I start thinking of beautiful blonde women with huge breasts and pink skin. Pathetic, yes.
Pathetic.
Of course, you have to admire the Americans, you know. They really do have something to believe in, you see. They really do believe in anti-communism. I think.
God, I wish we had a positive faith like that in England, you know.
Gives us something to hold on to. Times of stress.
Yes. Isn't there a lot of poverty over there?
There is, but luckily it's all been concentrated in the slum areas. It's beautifully done. You'd scarcely notice it.
Where are you going in America?
I'm going to New York first.
Well, of course, you must remember, New York isn't America.
What is it then?
New York is New York, but it's not America.
It's not America. If you want to see America, you ought to go to the South.
The South's charming, but it's not America.
It's not America, no.
Now, there's Washington, of course. Then that's got a certain sort of Parisian atmosphere. It's certainly not America.
It's not America. Of course, Los Angeles is fascinating, but it's not America any more than San Francisco, and that's not America.
There's the West, of course. Now, that's very exciting.
Very exciting.
It's not America.
It's not America.
And there's the North America, but that's Canada. I mean, it's not America.
Not America.
Where is America?
The Cape, I think.
Massachusetts.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just a little bit of England.
That's America. No, I won't have a program, thank you very much. Excuse me, tea?
Yes, please. Milk and sugar and a couple of slices of fruit cake.
No, is this tea? Is this tea? Low tea,
Sorry, I thought you asked if I wanted a cup of tea.
No.
Yes, this is T1, 2 and 3.
I'm T2.
I'm T3.
Excuse me.
Right.
I'm very sorry coming in late like this. I couldn't get hold of a taxi, you know, just like at this time of night.
Absolutely ghastly.
Absolutely ghastly.
Absolutely ghastly.
It's ghastly.
Isn't it
Isn't it
ghastly?
ghastly?
Absolutely ghastly.
Ghastly.
It is ghastly, yes. Ghastly business. But of course, you know, you've only missed about 3.5 minutes of the overture. It's a 7.5 minute overture, actually.
You've seen the show before, have you?
Oh, yes, I've seen this show. Let me see now. 300 and... No, wait a minute, I tell a lie. 237 times.
237 times. It must be some sort of a record. Are you that fond of the show?
Oh, no, it's not my sort of show at all, really.
Well, why on earth do you keep coming?
Well, you see, it's the royal family.
Are they in some way connected?
No, you see, I read in the newspapers that the royal family was planning a visit to this theatre, you see, so naturally I came along. Now, you see up there,
Yes.
that is what they call the royal box.
That's the royal box, is it?
That is the royal box,
The
yes.
royal box.
That's right. Have you seen it, sir?
That's the royal box.
Yes.
That is where your crowned heads will sit when they come to the theatre. The royal box.
Yes, he's got it, hasn't he?
I think we all have, yes.
But I don't know if you've noticed, there's no royalty in it.
Yes, I had noticed that.
You noticed that? You're very quick, you know. You see, there's no royal people there at all.
None.
There is no royal personage actually gracing the royal box. Unless, of course, they're crouching. But, I mean, that wouldn't be royalty, would it?
Not crouching, no.
No, not on the crouch.
Not actually on the crouch. They don't go in for that very much.
They have people to do that for them.
Isn't there a regiment called the Royal Crouchers?
The Royal Bengal Crouchers, yes. A fine body of men.
Oh, fine body of crouchers.
Wonderful crouching.
How did they get their name?
It was their uniform that did it, actually.
Oh, I see. It was a special crouching uniform, was it?
It wasn't designed that way, but part of the accoutrements of the uniform were ceremonial medals which hung from the chest and ceremonial garters which they wore about their thighs. And occasionally the medals used to catch up in the garters, forcing them into posizione crociate, the traditional crouching position.
And wasn't Queen Victoria passing by at the time?
She was, yes.
One of them got into this crouching predicament, and she liked what she saw. And she said, I like that. Keep it.
And they've been crouching ever since.
It's one of the last instances of the use of the royal prerogative.
Is it?
It is, yes.
Of course, Queen Victoria used the royal prerogative a great deal, didn't she?
Did she?
Yes, she did.
I think some people would say she overused it.
Would they?
They would, yes.
Yes, I think others would say she underused it.
Yes. I think most people would say absolutely nothing at all.
Yes, I think that's me, actually. It's not a burning issue anymore, really, is it?
No, not anymore.
Of course, you know, I was here last Tuesday, and have a guess who I saw?
I have no idea who you saw.
Go on, have a guess who I saw.
I haven't the remotest interest in who you saw.
I'll go on, play. Oh, well, never mind, I'll tell you anyway. I saw the Duchess of Glastonbury.
The Duchess of Glastonbury, eh? Whoopee, lucky old you.
But of course, she's not what you'd call a regal person, is she?
She's not what I call a regal person. No, she's a noble person rather than regal.
She's noble, yes.
She's not regal.
No, she's not regal.
She's noble, then.
Yes, she isn't regal.
She's not regal. No, she's noble. That's good enough, isn't it? Of course, you know, she's a wonderfully preserved woman. You know, she's 84.
Is she 84? She doesn't look it. She looks about 79. Photographs.
Must be one of the last instances of the use of the royal preservative.
What is that? Is that some special cream they wear on themselves? What is that?
No, it's a joke.
A joke?
Yeah.
You were making a joke?
Yes, I made a joke.
A humorous thing? Oh, I see. Well, ha ha ha. Jolly good.
Glad you enjoyed it.
I always enjoy a good joke as soon as I know about it.
I'll give you a bit more warning next time.
That's another joke, is it?
No, that's irony.
Oh, yes.
Then of course, there's sarcasm, which is normally followed by a punch up the throat.
Yes, I don't care for that one.
No, it's not so good. No. But of course, you know, I am hoping against hope that one night the royal family will turn up here and make my having to sit through this rotten, awful show every night worthwhile.
Do you really mean to say you spend 15 shillings every night just on the off chance you may catch a glimpse of the royal family?
Well, they're not worth a pound.
The time is 7 o'clock. By the grace of God and the British Broadcasting Corporation, we bring you always on a Sunday a program of religion on the move. Let there be light.
If your baby does you wrong, turn the other cheek. Keep it turning, 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 turning. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Turn the other cheek. Now we burn your thoughts, dear king. From here, don't think you are sorry if you turn the other cheek. And keep it turning. All right, boys, right on. Here you go. Here you go.
It was absolutely spiffing. It really had my feet tapping. Now let's get down to God. God, who is he, where is he, and above all, why is he? And of course, why is he above all? Have you got any questions you'd like to fire off about God, Dudley?
Yes, well, Vicar.
Oh, now, don't call me Vicar, call me Dick. That's the sort of vicar I am.
Yes, well, Dicker. One thing has always been a great mystery to me, and that is the exact age of the Almighty. I mean, how old is God?
How old is God?
How old is God? God, how old is he? Oh, God, how is he?
That's very good. Jolly good, yes, good. Jolly good, good, yes. Good God. Well, it isn't really a question of age with God, you see, Dudley, because, you see, God is ageless. Well, that's to say, he's age old. He's old age, isn't right? In fact, God is exactly the same as you or I. And that's the message I'm trying to get across to you youngsters down at my little Dockland parish of St. Jack in the Lifeboat. You see, I think we've got to get right away from this stuffy old idea of thinking of God as something holy or divine. Once we can do that, we'll get you youngsters flooding back into the churches. I know that for sure. Alan. Hello there, Alan. Hello, Alan. Shut up. Alan, tell me, is there anything in the Bible which actually puts you off religion?
Yes, there is actually, Dicker. Excuse me, Alan, do you mind? Can we leave Lot's wife till late? Thank you very much. During my studies of the good work, Dicker, I was very shocked by all the cruelty and violence in the New Testament.
In the New Testament?
Yes.
I knew there was some rough and tumble in the Old, but I always thought the New was rather mild.
No, I thought there's some ghastly bits in it. Take, for example, the horrible case of shoving a needle up the eye of a camel. see, frankly, Dicker, that to me is taking unfair advantage of a dumb animal.
Camel.
A dumb camel, thank you, Peter, I stand corrected. It's a ghastly sight, the ship of the desert standing there with a needle up his eye. And if you ask me, that was the straw what broke the camel's back.
Well, there you go. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think we're putting words into God's mouth here, and I think we can turn a blind eye on the whole affair. After all, the camel had to. My joke. I am very grateful to you, Dudley, for bringing this up, because it does bring me to the whole problem of teenage violence in general. Now, there's been an awful lot of Tommy Rot spoken about juvenile and teenage violence, because I think we can actually use this violence and channel it towards God. In fact, it's my aim to get this violence off the streets and into the churches where it belongs. In the old days, people used to think of the saints as pious old milksops.
Right.
Well, they weren't. The old saints were rough, toothless, as you were. They were tough, ruthless terrorists who knew where they were going. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John went through life with their heads screwed on.
Went outside with nothing on, had a bathe in the village.
Thank you very much. That's the little rhyme we all sing, and with these principles firmly in mind, we've now got ourselves a young, vigorous church where youngsters like yourselves can come in off the streets, pick up a chick, jive in the aisles, and really have yourselves a ball. The result is, we are playing to packed houses every night. Except, of course, for Sunday, when we are forced to close our doors because of the Lord's Day Observance Society.
T.E. Lawrence, the man and the myth. Which is man and which is myth? Is this fact or is it lies? What is truth and what is fable? Where is Ruth and where is Mabel? To some of these questions, I hope to be able to provide the answer. No one who knew T.E. Lawrence as I did, barely at all, could fail but to be deeply impressed by him. It is given to few men to become, as he did, a legend in his own lifetime, and it was in pursuit of that legend that I first sought him out in June of 1933 at his cottage at Clouds Hill in Dorset. It was a simple cottage, but I thought I detected Lawrence's hand in the rough whitewashed wall, the stout paved doorstep, and the rough oak door, upon which I knocked lightly. It was opened by a small, rather unprepossessing figure, slight of frame, fair-haired, with the ruddy, gleaming face of a schoolboy. It was a schoolboy. I had come to the wrong house. I knew of Lawrence, of course, from his exploits in Syria, where he was attached, though none too deeply, to the British Expeditionary Force. Speaking fluent Sanskrit, he and his boon companion, his Arab body servant, an unmade Bedouin of great beauty, they wreaked havoc among the Turkish levies. Orange, the Arabs called him, for they are unable to pronounce L's, as distinct from the Chinese, who can pronounce little else. It is interesting, though fruitless, to speculate that had fate taken him to China, he would have been known as Lawrence. However, that is by the way. Shaw, or Ross, as Lawrence then called himself, returned from the East in 1919. Shyness had always been a disease with him, and it was shyness and a longing for anonymity that made him disguise himself. clad in the magnificent white silk robes of an Arab prince, with in his belt the short, curved gold sword of the Ashraf descendants of the Prophet, he hoped to pass unnoticed through London. Alas, he was mistaken. Who am I, he would cry despairingly. You are Lawrence of Arabia, passers-by would stop him and say. And I claim my £5. For a while he sought refuge in academic seclusion as a fellow of All Souls at Oxford. Here he could mix on equal terms with some of the greatest men of his age. But, as Robert Graves has pointed out, he could not bear to be touched, so that even to rub shoulders with the great filled him with deep loathing. One hesitates to talk of Lawrence and his body, for they were inseparable. He feared his body as a savage fears the night. His body was a wild beast to be tamed and cowed into submission. By the time I first knew him, it had been beaten and tanned to the texture of an old whip. There have been those, as there always are those, who have said that there was something feminine about his makeup. But there is nothing essentially feminine about makeup, and his was always so discreet. One incident comes back to me now. In common room one night at All Souls, I remember, the conversation had turned to the origins of the First World War and its relation to the vexed question of homosexuality. I saw Lawrence lean forward. I am not opposed to homosexuality per se, he said quietly, only per me. There was a murmur of agreement, and the subject was dropped. But can one ever forget him? Those china blue eyes, that boyish, almost girlish figure, and that silly, silly giggle. The boys at his school had called him Tee-hee Lawrence. And always, the back of his hand or the back of his mind, there was that ready snigger.
Well, anyway, so I said to him, do you do vests in mauve? And he said, no, we don't do vests in mauve. So I said to him, very sharply, I said, don't do vests in mauve. And he said, no. So I had to settle for the green, the Lincoln green. It made me mad. I can tell you, I was livid.
Never mind, you look lovely in green. Really? You look like a spring onion. I think it's beautiful.
Hello, what have we got today, Arthur?
Surprise, surprise. Today we've got Bollard.
Bollard. Well, sounds exciting. What is it?
Cigarette.
Oh, ciggy wiggies. That's nice.
Hello, men. I'm so sorry I'm late. I got held up at the hairdresser. Oh, I was so worried about it. I can't tell you. He was going on and on. I said, Ricky, darling, stop, dear. You'll ruin it. Do you like it?
Yes, I think he's done a lovely job.
Yes, I think so.
You can scarcely see where it joins.
Hello.
You know, you look rather like Robin Hood today.
Twang.
Yeah.
What?
Have you seen what I've seen?
What's that then?
Cyril, what a lovely tie you're sporting.
It is a lovely tie, isn't it? It's the new colour, you know.
Oh, qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? What is it then?
It's black, can't you see?
Very nice. Oh, my goodness gracious me.
What?
Aren't these sou'westers absolutely fabulous?
Come on, let's have you.
Those stairs, you know. Oh, please don't touch me this morning, Arthur.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Right. Action.
Stormy days at sea are followed by the smoking of a ball. And once that lovely smoke is swallowed, so much satisfaction. Smoke bollard, a man's cigarette.
Good evening. I am the director of one of London's largest art galleries, housing pictures which some people would give their right hands to have. Needless to say, we don't let them have them, as in this way we can be quite sure of building up a very large permanent collection. Some of the pictures which we have would make your eyes pop out, such all-time favourites as the Laughing Cavalier, which has had the world in stitches now for donkey's yards. It even brings a gay smile to my lips, and I must have seen it scores of times. What does my job involve, I can hear you ask? Well, I arrive in my little office very early in the morning. Though it's 10 to 1, I've been up to all hours the night before, rubbing shoulders with the great at some smart arty party. Because there's one thing you can say about my job is that by and large it's very interesting. For about 2 hours, all is silence in my little den until my secretary comes in with the latest batch of pictures what have come through the post for me to cast my eye over and decide which is to have the privilege of hanging on the walls of our great gallery. Which pictures do I choose, I can hear you murmur. Well, by and large, I tend to choose the largest picture, as in this way I feel one is doing the best by the taxpayer. However, don't run away with the idea that I am one to let the little gem go begging. Because there's one thing you can say about this business is that by and large you have to be hawk-eyed. And so, by the time 5 o'clock comes around, I am about ready to jack the whole thing in. But after 6 hours good kip, I am ready to be back on the job as guardian of the nation's art treasures. Pop up and see us sometime.
And now Dudley Moore accompanies himself upon the pianoforte in settings of European songs. First, a setting by Fauré of Verlaine's poem La Nuit s'épanouit.
La nuit s'épanouit dans la vie sanglotante. Et les ombres volent des vagues ténébreuses s'en vont dans les groupes de la vague distance. Sanglotant, violon, sanglotant, sanglotant, violon, sanglotant, sanglotant, violon de l'amour.
Now, Dudley Moore continues to play with himself, this time in a setting by Schubert of Heine's poem Die Flabbergast.
Die Monster, die Flabbergast, und silence die Weinen. Meine Sonne, der Vater, meine Sonne, der Vater, meine Sonne, das ist mein Nein. Die kleine Monster, die Flabbergast, und silence die Weinen. Meine Sonne, der Vater, meine Sonne, der Vater, meine Sonne, das ist mein
Philosophical paper you were telling me about in common room. Hegel's Moral Doubts, I think it was.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Hegel's Moral Doubts.
Hegel's Moral Doubts, yeah.
Yes.
Doubts. Yes, but it's not really a paper so much as an annotation which I run up for the proceedings of the Aristotelian Society.
Yes.
Certainly no Principia. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Let's start. Yes. Now look, Wittgenstein says, doesn't he, rather ham-handedly in my opinion, in the blue and brown books, of course, that the statement, fetch me that slab, implies there is a slab, such that were I to fetch it, the statement, fetch me that slab, would then be disjunctively denied by the opposite statement.
Yes?
Yes? Well, it seems to me Wittgenstein has made really rather a bad blunder here, for as far as I can see, you see, the unfetched slab can claim to exist really no more than the unseen tree in the forest.
No. You're making rather a primitive category mistake here. Oh, no, you're not actually. It's me. I'm sorry.
All right. It seems to me, what exactly we have here really? What exactly we have here really is an example of a synthetic a priori proposition, of the sort. Let me see now. Yes, there are no sense data, you see. There are no sense data, which are both blue and green all over at the same time, and sense data.
And sense data, yes. I see.
Which is a statement really both about our world as we know it, in Wittgenstein's sense, of course, of everything that is the case, and a statement about our language as we use it. Now, I know that you get very worked up about propositional, disjunctive functions, Beanie, so I thought you might have to deal with the whole sort of thing and put it on some sort of...
Yes.
I see. Well, tell me, are you in fact using yes in its affirmative sense here?
No. I like that paper. You see, I liked it because it rather bears on something I'm considering myself. Namely, what part, you see, what role we as philosophers play in this great heterogeneous, confusing and confused jumble of political, social and economic relationships we call society. I mean, other people have jobs to do, don't they? What do people do these days?
They row lawns, I believe.
As they do, or they drive buses, or they sell ice cream, or they play games. Games.
More important.
Much more important. Yes, now we also play games, you see, but we as philosophers, we play language games, don't we? We play games, language games. When you and I go onto the cricket pitch, we do so secure in the knowledge that a game of cricket is, it's in the offing, isn't it? It's not in progress, it's in the offing. But when we play language games, we do so rather in order to find out what game it is we're playing. In other words, why do we do philosophy at all?
Yes, why?
Why?
Yes, why? Yes, indeed.
Why?
Yes, why? Yes, why? Yes. No. You see, I think I must take exception with you on that point, Beanie, because you see, I think we want to ask not so much why questions, you see, as how questions.
Why?
There you are. Need I say more?
Yes, you need a great deal.
I tell you, it seems to be the philosophers, or at least they like to call themselves philosophers, you see, who start by asking why questions, they end up by making pseudo-statements, you see. Pseudo-statements of the sort, let me see now, Saturday got into bed with me as one.
Is that a pseudo-statement?
All right, well, I'll take another example from real life, if you like, and really hammer home the point. There's too much Tuesday in my beetroot salad. What about that?
Oh, well, that is, of course. That's a classic example. But I don't think you're saying, and I don't say you're thinking, but I don't think you're saying that such statements are in themselves meaningless, are they?
All I'm saying really, you see, such statements are in effect metaphysical statements.
Metaphysical statements. Well, of course, if they're metaphysical statements, I don't think we should forget, or I don't think you should forget, as Bradley pointed out, the man who rejects the existence of metaphysics is simply a metaphysician with a rival theory of his own. There.
Ouch. Yes, but in that case, you must allow me to illustrate with another example from real life, if I may.
You seem very fond of real life.
Look, let's say, for example, shall we, that we meet a friend.
Meet a friend, yes.
A friend, say, at the factory, or at the pub, or at the football match. No, we don't say to that friend, do we, why are you? We've got to say, why are you? And we say, how are you, don't we?
I suppose we do, yes. In this connection, what do you think of Plato and Aristotle and T.S. Eliot?
That's a very crafty question, really. Well, it seems to me, that Plato, Aristotle, and T.S. Eliot, God bless him. By the way, how is he? Is he all right?
He's all right, I think. Yes, I think so.
Yes. Well, it seems to me, these fellows, you see, while they have very interesting things indeed to say about the society which they represent, you see that one.
He's been having a spot of bother with his teeth.
You mean who has? Eliot?
What?
Eliot?
Well, of course, Eliot. Not Plato. Yes, his teeth have been aching. They aren't what they were. In fact, they're not where they were. They're out. Yes, a dentist removed them all, lock, stock and barrel.
Best place for them. Hideous blackened stumps. What was I saying? It seems to me, these fellows.
Which fellows?
Plato, Aristotle, and poor old toothless Eliot there, you see. While they have very interesting things indeed to say about the society which they represent, they're asking questions about life and about death, which are therefore entirely irrelevant.
Entirely irrelevant. Yes, you're quite right. I don't call Plato and Aristotle philosophers. I call them para-philosophers.
Para-philosophers. How come?
Well, have you heard of these chaps, paratroops?
Yes.
Who know those people who know the paratroops? Well, para-philosophers are exactly the same. They're philosophers with their feet off the ground.
Saucy. In that case, I think the burden really is fair and square upon your shoulders, Bleeny, to try and explain to me the exact relevance that philosophy does have to everyday life.
Yes, I can do that quite easily. This morning I went into a shop. See, a shop, and there was a shop assistant there. I was having an argument with a customer. Shop assistant said yes, you see, and the customer said, what do you mean, yes? And the shop assistant said, I mean yes.
Oh, this is very exciting indeed.
I mean, here's a splendid example, you see, in everyday life we do. Very ordinary people are asking each other what are, in essence, philosophical questions. What do you mean? Yes, I mean yes, you see. Where I, as a philosopher, could help them.
Did you?
No. They're in rather a hurry. The great train robbery of over £3 million continues to baffle the British police.
Good evening.
However, we have here with us in the studio this evening the Deputy Head of New Scotland Yard, Sir Arthur Gappy.
Good evening.
And I'm going to ask him just a few questions about the train robbery.
Good evening.
Good evening, Sir Arthur.
Good evening.
I'm going to ask you just a few questions about the train robbery, if I may.
Good evening. Well, I'd like to make one thing quite clear at the outset. When you speak of a train robbery, this in fact involved no loss of train. It was merely the contents of the train which were pilfered. We haven't lost a train since 1943, I think it was, the year of the great snows. We mislaid a small one. They're very hard to lose, you see. Trains are great, bulky, great things, as opposed, for example, to small jewels. A tiny pearl, for example, might nestle in the navel of a lady and disappear for years, whereas a train with its huge size and the steam pouring out is altogether a different kettle of fish.
I think you've made that point rather well, Sir Arthur.
Thank you very much.
Who do you think may have perpetrated this awful crime?
We believe this to be the work of thieves. And I'll tell you why. The whole pattern is extremely reminiscent of past robberies where we have found thieves to be involved. The telltale loss of property, the snatching away of the money substances, it all points to thieves.
Thieves. So you feel that thieves are responsible?
Good heavens, no. I feel that thieves are totally irresponsible. Ghastly people who go around snatching your money.
I appreciate that, sir.
You may appreciate that, but most people don't. If you like having your money snatched, good luck to you. It must be rather a queer fish, in my view.
You misunderstand me,
I
Sir
certainly
Arthur.
do. Good evening.
Who do you think is behind the criminals?
We are considerably many days, indeed months and years behind them.
Who do you think is the organizing genius behind the crime?
Well, now, of course, you're asking me who the organizing genius behind the crime is.
You're a man of very acute perception, Sir Arthur.
Thank you very much. Well, we believe it to be the work of a Mindermast, let me put it that way.
A Mindermast.
A Mindermast, my words exactly, a Mindermast.
What exactly is a Mindermast?
A Mindermast is the code word we use at Scotland Yard to describe a mastermind. We don't like to use the word mastermind as that depresses the men. Oafish lot of louts if ever I saw any. Ghastly. Great yobs.
I see.
But we are, however, using the wonderful detection equipment known as the identikit. Are you familiar with the identikit?
Oh, isn't it where you piece together the face of the criminal, is that right?
Not entirely, no. We're only able to piece together the appearance of the face of the criminal. We can't actually piece the face itself together. I wish we could, of course, because once you've captured the criminal face, the other criminal parts aren't hard to find. The criminal body is situated directly below the criminal face, joined, of course, by the ghastly, scrawny, and altogether obnoxious criminal neck. But through this wonderful system of the identikit, or l'identique, as the French foppishly call it, God love them, we have pieced together an extremely good likeness of the Archbishop of Canterbury.
So His Grace is your number one suspect?
Well, let me put it this way. His Grace is the man we're currently beating the living daylights out of down at the yard.
And he's still your number one suspect?
No, I'm happy to say that the Archbishop, God bless him, no longer resembles the picture we built up. Changed. I think for the worse, poor devil.
I believe I'm right in saying, Sir Arthur, that some of the stolen money has been recovered.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
What's happening to that?
We're spending that as quickly as we can. It's a short life, but a merry one down at the yard. Good night, and God bless you all. So you want to know about the war? The 30s were coming to an end. Heavy with menace, the 40s were just around the corner.
I'm stepping off my down to breathe an atmosphere that's beautiful.
At the Victoria Palace, Lupino Lane was entrancing London with Me and My Girl. At Ascot, a year of royal victories. Walt Disney had done it again with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Underneath the gaiety, the storm clouds were gathering. Across Europe, German soldiers were dancing the hideous gavotte of war.
Then came a break in the clouds.
I have here, from Herr Hitler, a piece of paper.
I will always remember that weekend war broke out. I was at a house party at Cliveden with the Astors. We sat around listening to the moving broadcast by Mr. Churchill, or Mr. Chamberlain as he then was. And I quite clearly remember turning to my husband and saying, "Squiffy, où sont les neiges d'antan?" I did not feel then that all was quite lost. Immediately afterwards, I got on the telephone to Berlin to try and have a word with Herr Hitler, who'd been so awfully kind to us on our last visit to Germany that summer. Unfortunately, the line was engaged. There was nothing I could do to avert the carnage of the next 6 years.
Mr. Charles Spedding of Hoxton remembers?
I'll always remember that day that war was declared. I was out in the garden at the time, planting out some croissants. It was a grand year for croissants, 1939. I wish we could have another one like it. My wife came out to me in the garden and told me the ghastly news about the outbreak of hostilities. "Never mind, my dear," I said to her. "You put on the kettle. We'll have a nice cup of tea."
Put out that light. All over Britain, the humble little people showed the same spirit of courage.
You could always tell the difference between theirs and ours. Ours had a sort of steady, reliable British hum, rather like a homely old bumblebee. Theirs, on the other hand, had a sort of horrible, vicious, intermittent whine, like a ghastly foreign mosquito.
Meanwhile, as invasion threatens, England is blanketed in security.
Now, wait a moment. We'll put Lyme Regis where Great Yarmouth was.
Right. Ipswich where Lyme Regis was.
And Great Yarmouth where Ipswich was.
Oh, that'll fool the boss, eh?
I'll fool him. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, ta-ra.
Here. How do we get home?
Home? Home, the very word had a sort of comforting sound, didn't it? Homes whose very foundations were built upon the air. Young men, scarcely boys, tossed aside youthful things and grew up overnight in that grimmer game which is war. A game where only one side was playing the game. Young men flocked to join the few.
Please, sir, I want to join the few.
I'm sorry, there are far too many.
From the rugby fields into the air,
From the squash courts into the clouds,
From the skiffs into the Spitfires.
this was war.
I had a pretty quiet war, really. I was one of the few. We were stationed down at Biggin Hill. On Sunday, we got word Jerry was coming in. They were Hastings, I think. I got up there as quickly as I could, and everything was very calm and peaceful. England lay like a green carpet below me. The war seemed worlds away. I could see Tunbridge Wells, the sun glinting on the river. I remembered that last weekend I'd spent there with Celia that summer of '39. Suddenly, Jerry was coming at me out of a bank of cloud. I let him have it, and I think I must have got him in the wing because he spiraled past me out of control. As he did so, I'll always remember this, I caught a glimpse of his face. You know, he smiled. Funny thing, war.
Perkins. Sorry to drag you away from the fun, old boy.
That's all right, sir.
War's not going very well, you know.
Oh, my God.
We're 2 down, the ball's in the enemy court.
Sir?
War's a psychological thing, Perkins, right like a game of football.
Yes, sir.
You know how in a game of football, 10 men often play better than 11?
Yes, sir.
Perkins, we're asking you to be that one man.
Sir.
Perkins,
Sir.
I want you to lay down your life.
Yes, sir.
We need a futile gesture at this stage. It'll raise the whole tone of the war. Get up in a crate, Perkins.
Sir.
Hop over to Bremen.
Yes, sir.
Take a shufti.
Sir.
Don't come back.
Right, you are.
Goodbye, Perkins. God, I wish I was going too.
Goodbye, sir. Or is it au revoir?
No, Perkins.
London, that gallant old lady nurtures her children well.
At the National Gallery, in a series of lunchtime concerts, Dame Myra Hess weaves her magic fingers inextricably into the heartstrings of London.
The music you're listening to, Timothy, is German music, and we're fighting the Germans. That's something you're going to have to work out later on.
That was the night they got Pithy Street. I'll always remember it. I was out in the garden at the time, planting out some deadly nightshade for the boss. My wife come out to me in the garden and told me the abominable news. Thousands have died in Pithy Street, she said. Never you mind the thousands of dead, I said to her. You put on the kettle. We'll have a nice cup of tea.
Andrews,
Yes, sir?
how many children do you have?
I've got 5, sir. 5. I've got 3 boys and
2 girls.
2 girls. Yeah. Have you got any children, sir?
Well, you see, Mary and I only had 24 hours before I came out here. I've never even seen my son, Timothy. We got him down to Eton, of course. You know he's got the makings of a damn fine football player, Mary tells me.
Is he really, sir? Well, I'm glad to hear that, sir.
It's rather nice, isn't it?
Yes.
Look, Andrews,
Yes, sir?
I've not said this before, but we've been right through this beastly business together now. Right the way through.
I suppose we have, sir.
And you know, until this horrible war started, I'd never really known men of your class before. Let me say just this. It's been a privilege.
God bless you, sir.
All right.
God bless you.
Jolly good. Let's go.
How grateful we were to the BBC in those dark days of the war, when every night at 9 o'clock, Alvar Liddell brought us news of fresh disasters.
This is Alvar Liddell bringing you news of fresh disaster.
I never ever used to hear the 9 o'clock news, as I was always out in the garden, round about 9-ish, planting out some carrots for the night fighters. But I do remember that black day that rationing was imposed. My wife come out to me in the garden, her face knotted with pain. Charlie, she said, rationing has been imposed and all that entails. Never mind, my dear, I said to her, you put on the kettle. We'll have a nice cup of boiling hot water.
But the tide was turning, the wicket was drying out. It was deuce, advantage Great Britain. Then America and Russia asked if they could join in. The whole thing turned into a free-for-all. And so, unavoidably came peace, putting an end to organised war as we'd come to know it.
Well, we've done our best. Now it's up to the youngsters.
I wonder what they'll make of it.
Old acquaintance we forgot and never brought to mind.
In these days of the relaxation of international tension, I think, in these days of the tightening up of international tension, I think there is a very real danger of our neglecting the claims of civil defense. It was the French statesman Talleyrand who said that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. Well, of course, the price has gone up somewhat since the 18th century. However, the government's defense, what for want of a better word I'll call policy, is based on the concept of the deterrent. I'll say what for purposes of argument we'll call an unnamed power takes a nuclear missile and drops it on the United Kingdom. Well, we in the United Kingdom would then take another nuclear missile and drop it on Russia. I'm sorry, no, on the unnamed power. This, of course, would deter them from, it would effectually discourage them. Well, it would jolly well serve them right.
Now, a lot of people in this country tend to think of the whole problem of the hydrogen bomb as being rather above their heads. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. The issue is a simple one. Kill or be killed.
Or both.
I beg your pardon?
I said or both. Yes,
Thank
good
you.
evening. Right.
Good evening. Now, we shall receive 4 minutes warning of any impending nuclear attack. Now, some people have said, oh my goodness me, 4 minutes, that's not a very long time. Well, I'd remind those doubters that some people in this great country of ours can run a mile in 4 minutes. Basically, the defense of Great Britain rests in the hands of our sea slugs. Now, if our sea slugs fail to get through, we shall fall back on our blue waters. If our blue waters let us down, we've still got good old germ warfare up our sleeves. Thank goodness for that. Now, I must admit here, there is a very strong possibility that our sea slugs won't get through. The British sea slug is a ludicrously cumbersome vehicle, depending as it does on a group of trained runners carrying it into enemy territory. Mind you, the boffins are working on this one day and night. They're thinking of fitting it up with some other ingenious device, I don't know, wings or something along those lines, turning it into some kind of flying machine. In which case it will be renamed Greased Lightning. Must sit down, I can feel one of my spells coming on.
Well, now, this does mean that if we are fortunate enough in any future hostilities to be the aggressor, we are in a position to strike a blow of 20, 30, or even 40 mega deaths. Or I'll put that in more familiar terms, if you like. That's to say, 40 million lifeless forms strewn all about the place here and there. Really rather good. Now, following this, our sea slugs would then come into their own in a second wave, bringing our score up into the 70 or even 80 mega death bracket, which is practically the maximum score permitted by the Geneva Convention.
I can see one or two of you are thinking, now look here, what if one of our American friends makes a boo-boo and presses the wrong button, sends up one of these missiles by mistake? Well, of course, it could not happen. Could not happen, you see, because before he presses that button, he has to get on the telephone to number 10 Downing Street, say, now look, Mr. Prime Minister, sir, can I press this button? And the Prime Minister will say yes or no, as the mood takes him. Now, there is a flaw in this argument, and I can see one or two of you seem to have spotted it. What if the Prime Minister's out? Well, perfectly simple, perfectly straightforward. They'd ask his lovely lady wife. Now, I think at this point I'll throw the whole thing over to you. If you're at all worried about civil defence, if you've got any questions or problems, we'd be only too pleased to try and help you.
If you have any queries, I know we'd be delighted to attempt to deal with. Oh, this is silly.
Yes.
Hello, panel.
Hello.
I'd like to ask a question, if I might, please.
By all means. Exactly what we're here for, to try and answer any questions, settle any problems that may arise with regard to this whole complex business of civil defence in the world.
No, do go on. Don't let me...
Can't go on without your question.
well, shall I fire straight ahead?
By all means.
Right, here goes then. Following the nuclear holocaust, could you tell me when normal public services would be resumed?
Well, that's a very fair question, and we have got it in hand, of course. Following Armageddon, we do hope to have public services working fairly smoothly pretty soon after the event. Though I feel in all fairness I really ought to point out to all of you that it must needs be something in the nature of a skeleton service.
Now, what can we do from a practical point of view in the event of a nuclear attack? Well, the first golden rule to remember about hydrogen warfare is to be out of the area where the attack is about to occur. Get right out of that area, because that's the danger area where the bombs are dropping. Get right out of it, right out of it. If you're out of it, you're well out of it. If you're in it, you're really in it. If you are caught in it when a missile explodes, for goodness sake, don't move. Stand absolutely stock still. Not under a tree, of course, that could be extremely dangerous. Now, what about radiation? I hear a strangled cry. Well, there is a great deal you can do about radiation, you know. As soon as you hear about it, jump into a brown paper bag. Nothing quite so good as brown paper. You draw it all over your head. There you are, you see, you're very maneuverable. You can do anything you like inside your brown paper bag. The bomb drops, the dust settles, jump into your brown paper bag and pop along to your local civil defense leader.
And he'll tell you exactly where you can go.
I think at about this juncture it'd be wise to point out to those of you who haven't noticed already, and God knows it's apparent enough, that Jonathan Miller and myself come from good families and have had the benefits of a public school education, whereas the other two members of the cast have worked their way up from working class origins. Yet Jonathan and I are working together with them in the show and treating them as equals. And I'd like to say it's proven to be a most worthwhile, enjoyable and stimulating experience for both of us. Wouldn't you agree, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm most impressed with the whole thing. It's very good.
Suppose we are working class. I wonder how many of these people have realised that Jonathan Miller's a Jew.
Yes, well, he is a Jew, of course, but one of the better sort.
I'd rather be working class than be a Jew.
Oh, good Lord, yes, there's no comparison, is there? But just think of the awful situation if you were working class and a Jew.
There's always somebody worse off than yourself.
Well, in fact, I'm not really a Jew.
Just Jewish, not the whole hog, you see. And now, Dudley Moore continues to accompany himself upon the pianoforte, first in a setting of an English song, a setting by Benjamin Britten of the Old English air, Little Miss Muffet. The Miss Muffet referred to in this song is believed to have been related to the English entomologist of the same name.
Little Miss Muffet, slide on a dove, eating her goods, and there came a big spider and sat down beside her and frightened Miss Muffet. And frightened Miss Muffet.
Dudley Moore continues his recital with a setting by Kurt Weill of the Ballad of Gangster Joe by Bertolt Brecht.
Eine Vögel geliebt von des Glöcken geriet und der Krieg ist den König gewartet. Oh. Und frag mich, warum immer spielen gesungen und der Krieg ist den König erwartet. Und der Krieg ist den Himmel gewartet. Welchen Szenen vierten Liederkranz von Krieggesang. Hoppla. Meine Straßenfabrik ist ein Gericht Gericht und König gewiegt von Fragen. Oh, dann das Wein, oh, dann das Wein. Mit feiner gesund in das märrische Funk und sowas und Fragen Volkswagen. Und sowas und Fragen Volkswagen. Oh, meine Vögel ist gewichtet und kommen in das Land und Gatter, es waren Gatter, es waren ein Gesang. Mein Schöner, mein Gefilter, mein Lieber, meiner Freund und Wunschen von Telefunken, auf Wiedersehen, Gelicher Hund, es war das Schönste auf der Welt. Was ist das, Gangster Joe? Was ist das, ein Fädengedel in Chicago? Du hast mich betrogen, Joe. Du hast kein Herz, Joe. Gesundheit, Joe. Oh. Und kommen in das Land. Und meiner ist eine kleine. Es war ein Gesang. Nein, nein. Goodbye, Joe. Goodbye, Joe. Goodbye, Joe.
Miss Rigby, Stella, my love, would you send in the next auditioner, please? Mr. Spigot, I believe it is. Mr. Spigot, please. Mr. Spigot?
Yes, Spigot by name, Spigot by night, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Spigot. be interested in.
You're it.
I'm not it, Mr. Spigot. You appear to have forgotten the serious purpose of your visit. If you'd come over here and perch on the chair for a moment, we can talk. Now, Mr. Spigot, you are auditioning, are you not, for the part of Tarzan?
Right.
Now, Mr. Spigot, I couldn't help noticing, almost at once, that you are a one-legged person.
You noticed that?
I noticed that, Mr. Spigot, when you've been in the business as long as I have. Get to notice these little things almost instinctively.
Of course, yes.
Now, Mr. Spigot, you, a one-legged man, are applying for the part of Tarzan.
Right again.
A role that is traditionally associated with a two-legged man. And yet you, a unidexter, are applying for the role.
Right.
A role for which two legs would seem to be the minimum requirement. Well, Mr. Spigot, need I point out to you where your deficiency lies as regards landing the role?
Yes, I think you ought to.
Need I say, with overmuch emphasis, that it is in the leg division that you are deficient.
The leg division.
The leg division, Mr. Spigot, you are deficient in it to the tune of 1. Your right leg, I like. I like your right leg. It's a lovely leg for the role. A lovely leg for the role. I've got nothing against your right leg. The trouble is, neither of you. You fall down on your left.
You mean it's inadequate?
It's inadequate, Mr. Spigot. It's inadequate, and to my point of view, I don't think the British public is yet ready for the sight of a one-legged ape man swinging through the jungly fronds. However, don't despair. After all, you score over a man with no legs at all. Should a legless man come in here demanding the role, I should have no hesitation in saying, "Get out, run away."
So there's still a chance?
There is still a very good chance, Mr. Spigot. If we get no two-legged character actors in here within the next 18 months, there is every chance that you, a unidexter, will be the very type of person this particular agency will, in all probability, at some time or another, be attempting to contact telephonically. I'm sorry I can't be more definite. You must understand what with the millions of dollars at stake and all the difficulties involved, we can't afford to take any risks which would land us up to liability.
This week, Studio 5 welcomes 3 distinguished visitors. We're very pleased to have with us this evening the Minister of Science. Now, Minister, what plans are there for a British space probe?
Well, we have a British space probe up our sleeves, actually. It's going to be launched by Her Majesty the Queen, who, at a given signal, which is a nudge from C.P. Snow, will press a button which will then bounce a radio signal off 3 fixed points in the heavens: Mars, Venus, and God.
You don't feel then that we're lagging behind other countries in this vital field?
I don't feel that at all. I mean, what other country can boast the second largest radio telescope in the world? Soon we shall have the 3rd largest. Possibly even the 4th, and all with the same equipment.
It's a wonderful achievement. Do you feel that there is life in space?
Well, I honestly don't know. What on earth do you want to know that for? Awful creatures.
No, life.
Life? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said lice. I don't know. You'll have to ask the Prime Minister about that. He may know.
Finally, I wondered if you would explain how the atom can be harnessed for peaceful purposes.
Yes, I can explain
Can
that. It's all to do with the internal molecular structure of the atomic particle. You at all familiar with the atomic particle?
Not as familiar as I should be, no.
Well, it's made up, you see, the atomic particle is made up of two things, a nucleus and an electron. Do you see that? A nucleus and an electron. Now, my left hand represents the nucleus, and my right, of course, the electron. Now, inside the atomic particle, you see, these two, the nucleus and the electron, are going round one another. Do you see that? They're going round one another. They are revolving, you see. They're revolving at a tremendous rate, There is a huge source of power here to be harnessed. And this is what we're doing in British science today.
We're extremely pleased to have with us this evening the newly appointed Lord Chamberlain. Now, Lord Cobbold, what are your feelings on censorship in the theatre?
Well, frankly, I think there's far too much sex and violence gets by in the name of entertainment. I mean, I go to the theatre to be taken out of myself. I don't want to see lust and rape and incest and sodomy. I can get all that at home.
Oh, well, thank you. We are especially privileged to have with us this evening Mr. Akimoto Nimbitsu, the Pan-African Federal Leader, who is over here for the African Constitutional Conference. Now, Mr. Nimbitsu, what hopes do you hold out for a successful conclusion to the conference?
Well, there can be no hopes for a successful conclusion to this conference until the fundamental rights of man are realized by the British government. One man, one vote. That is the law of God, which all must obey, including God. One man, one vote. That is essential, especially for the 9 million black idiots who vote for me.
Mr. Nimbitsu, how do you view the imprisonment of your colleague, Mr. Binder Abayako?
Well, the imprisonment of Mr. Binder Abayako is a most immoral, disgusting, illegal, outrageous, and despicable act. And I'm in favor of it, as it lets me get on with a little bit of agitating on my own.
Now, do you in any way condone the violent methods adopted by some members of your party to further their cause?
Well, by violent methods, Mr. Edwards, I presume you are referring to the isolated and sporadic outbreaks of entire communities being wiped out.
Yes, I did have this in mind.
Yes, well, all I can say to that is moat and beam.
I beg your pardon?
Moat and beam.
Moat and beam.
Yes, wipe out the moat from your own eye, Great Britain, before you start messing around with our beams. Everywhere the black man is misrepresented. For example, recently I went in London to see this play, Things Ain't What They Used to Be. And in this play there was a black man who was laying about all over the stage doing nothing, implying all black men are layabouts.
Oh, surely, Mr. Nimbitsu, you might as well say the same play implies that all white people are pimps or prostitutes.
Yes, well, that is fair comment, you see. There can be no progress, Mr. Edwards, until you Englishmen stop looking down your noses at us Africans.
Yes, I think I see what you mean.
Black equals white. No taxation without representation. Black equals white.
Mr. Nimbitsu, one thing rather puzzles me about you, and that is your hair is extremely straight, and your complexion seems to be white in color.
Yes, that is perfectly true. I have recently undergone an operation to straighten my hair, and also to remove the pigmentation from my skin.
Doesn't this rather fly in the face of your principles?
Not at all. I feel in this way I can represent the interests of my people best by speaking to the white man on his own ground. And besides, it is the only way in which I can get lodgings.
Mr. Nimbitsu, thank you. And good night. I think we are safe now. If you would like to go upstairs and join Lord Cobbold and the Minister of Science, I'm sure you three must have a great deal to talk about.
Mr.
Nimbitsu.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I could have been a judge, but I never had the Latin. I never had the Latin for the judging. I didn't have sufficient to get through the rigorous judging exams. They're very rigorous, the judging exams. They're noted for their rigour. People come staggering out saying, my God, what a rigorous exam. But I managed to become a miner instead, a coal miner. Managed to get through the mining exams. They're not very rigorous. They only ask you one question. They say, who are you? And I got 75% on that, so I was made to feel persona grata. Of course, it's interesting work, grabbing hold of lumps of coal all day. Coal's a very interesting substance, you know. It was created in a most unusual way. Because God didn't just say, let's have some coal, like he did with most of the other amenities. He went about it a more roundabout and interesting way to make the world a bit more interesting for us all. He blew all the trees down. He did. He got a good wind going and blew them all down. And then, very gradually, over a period of 3 million years, he changed them into coal, so it wasn't noticeable to the average passerby. And this was all part of his wonderful long-term scheme of things, part of his wonderful overall plan for the universe. Of course, at the time, people didn't quite see it like that. People who were standing under the trees, for example, they rather missed the point. And instead of shouting out, hurrah, coal in 3 million years' time, they tended to exclaim more along the lines of, oh dear, trees falling on us. That's the last thing we want. And of course, for most of them, it's the last thing they got. Their prayers are answered in a roundabout way, because if you ask, you're always given it. But it is an interesting substance, and it's a wonderful substance to work with, coal. I've written a book about my experiences down the mine, written a book based on the experiences I've had down the mine. It's called My Experiences Down the Mine. It's a wonderful story. It's the story of a man who goes down the mine and he sees a lump of coal quite near him. Aha, he says, the very thing I'm looking for. And he bends down and picks it up, and he lifts it up to about his stomach level, and then he shoves it away into a trolley, and the trolley wheels away down a long dark tunnel, and he never sees it again. That's the story. It's very short, but it is extremely boring. I took it along to a publisher and he agreed with me. He said this story is extremely boring. This is the most boring story that has ever been written in the whole history of the universe. And he's not a man who's given to superlatives. He said the main trouble with it is everything. And most of all, it lacks the sex element. So vital in these troubled times when over us all hangs the black shadow of the hydrogen bomb. So I've rewritten it now to put in a bit of the sex element into the novel, into Experiences Down the Mine. I've put in some sex elements into it. It's the same story, but it's livened up a bit by 3 nude women. Beryl, Stella and Margaret. 3 nude ladies who've come down the mine for a bit of a dance. And I've left everything the same. I've just put in a few new paragraphs saying things like, Meanwhile, the nude ladies continued to dance about. It's done wonders for the book. I can scarcely put it down now. It's a wonderful story. Of course, that's the wonderful thing about being an author. You can put as many nude women in as you like. My next book's called A Million Nude Women. It's a mining story. It's a story of a million nude women who are wandering about in the desert looking for somewhere to sit down. And they wander about for many a year, till one day the leader of the nude women, Beryl Jarvis, sees a disused mine. "Come on, girls," she shouts. She has to shout because the last ones are about 6 miles back. "Come on, girls. Here's a disused mine at last. Let's all rush down it and dance about." And all the nude ladies rush down the mine after Beryl Jarvis and begin to dance about. It's a scene unparalleled in mining history. They dance and they dance for days on end, till suddenly a very frail nude lady by the name of Stella Whittington falls exhausted to the floor with a shout of, "Oh, this is too much." And the nude ladies see the folly of their ways and retrace their steps over the desert to rejoin their husbands, who've been sitting on the edge of the desert having a drink. It's a wonderful story. It'd make a wonderful film. Did you notice, for no apparent reason, very suddenly I went, "It's an impediment I've got from being down the mine." Because one day I was walking along in the dark, I saw the body of a dead pit pony. I went in surprise. Never since then I've been going unexpectedly, and that's another reason why I couldn't be a judge. It destroys the dignity of the court, you see. A whooping judge is not very much welcome, but I wish I could have got into judging circles, because the trouble with being a miner, as soon as you're too old and tired and ill and sick and stupid to do your job properly, you have to go. Well, the very opposite applies with the judges. So all in all, I would rather have been a judge than a miner, because I've always been after the trappings of great luxury. I've always fancied them. Yet I've got hold of the trappings of great poverty. I've got hold of the wrong load of trappings. And a rotten load of old trappings out.
Mistaken, there's the bar.
Magic bar.
Hearing sounds of the word. Something not altogether unalcoholic. What are you going to have?
Yes.
Large whiskey, please.
Tell you what, I'll have a double brandy.
Double brandy.
Gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic.
Lager.
Lager.
I'll do this. Drinks are on me. Drinks are on me. Drinks are on me. I've got nothing on me at all.
Do they take luncheon vouchers?
Have you got one?
No.
Ah, well, they never take them here unless you've actually got them. Sticky about
Tell you
there.
what, why don't we go and sit down and have a swat of lunch?
Shall we make a move?
Yes, all right then.
Where do you want to sit?
Is that all right?
It's all right for me.
You want to sit here?
Is that all right for you?
Is that all right for you?
Fine for me.
Fine for me. Why the bloody hell ain't you?
Let's get hold of a waiter.
Waiter.
I've got one. I've got one here. I've got one here. What are we going to have? Yes. I'm going to have the same as you, I think.
Same as me.
Yes.
You devil. Good God, have you seen that?
What's that?
Right.
Good heavens.
Isn't that fantastic?
What's that?
Children under 10, 12 and 6.
It's very cheap, isn't it?
It's very cheap. I think they're probably imported.
Probably frozen, I should think.
Oh, foreign.
Yes.
Foreign or frozen, you wouldn't get local children at that price.
I wonder how they prepare them.
I shouldn't think they do. I should think they spring it on them.
I can't bear children myself.
That's hardly surprising. Yes, I think I'll steer clear of the children and follow your example, Buffy. You know your way around this sort of muck.
Yes, all right.
What are you going to have?
Well, I honestly can't decide now.
Difficult.
It is
Difficult? Look, I'll follow you, Squiff, if you don't
Oh,
mind.
right you are. Well, I have decided, actually. I'm going to have what you settled for, I think.
Oh, good. Well, that's very easy then. That's 4 of the same. Oh, the bloody waiter's gone. He's
Waiter's
dead.
gone.
Yes,
What's
he's
that?
going to pitch him.
I get
What's
the
that?
turn.
We'll
Waiter's
him out.
gone.
We'll
Waiter's
tell
gone.
bloody waiter's
I
gone.
didn't.
Why the bloody waiter's get it off?
I didn't ask
Come in
for
here.
it.
Very expensive
Where's he
restaurant.
gone?
The bloody waiter's
He's gone to
here.
get
Go
the
and get the
waiter.
waiter.
Get a waiter to
Plugging
get
the
the
children
waiter.
to death.
I said, yeah,
Yeah. 29th verse of the 14th chapter of the book of Genesis. But my brother Esau is an hairy man, but I am a smooth man. But my brother Esau is an hairy man, but I am a smooth man. Perhaps I can paraphrase that, say the same thing but in a different way, by quoting you some words from that grand Old Testament prophet Ezra. Ezra 4:16. He said unto me, What seest thou? And I said, Lo, I see the children of Bebai numbering 673, and I see the children of Asgad numbering 1,474. I see the children of Bebai numbering 673, and I see the children of Asgad numbering 1,474. There come times in the lives of each and every one of us when we turn aside from our fellows and seek the solitude, the tranquility of our own fireside. We put up our feet, don't we, and we put on our slippers, we sit and stare into the fire. I wonder, at such times, whether your thoughts turn, as mine do, to those words I've just read you now. They're very unique words, they're very special words, because these are words that express, as so very few words do, that sense of lack which lies at the very heart of modern existence. That I don't quite know what it is, but I'm not getting everything out of life that I should be getting, sort of feeling. Because they are more than this, you know, these words. They are much, much, much more. Because they are, in a very real sense, a challenge to each and every one of us here tonight. What is that challenge? The other evening, I was strolling through Piccadilly Circus when my eye was caught by a rather personable young lady who was sitting there on a bench. And as I walked by, she called out to me, and she said, "Hey, Padre, have you got the time?" I had the time, and I stopped and told it to her, and she seemed most anxious to chat, so I sat down beside her on the bench. In the course of conversation, I laid my hand upon her knee, and suddenly she said, "Hey, Padre, what's the little game?" "Hey, Padre, what's the little game?" I was very grateful to that young lady, because, you see, she put me in mind of the kind of question I felt I ought to be asking you here tonight. What's the little game? What is this whole vivid, exciting little game that we call life about? Very many years ago, when I was about as old as some of you are now, I went mountain climbing in Scotland with a very dear friend of mine. There was this mountain, you see. We decided to climb it. So, very early one morning, we arose and we began to climb. All day we climbed. Up and up and up. Higher and higher and higher, till the valley lay very small below us. The mist of the evening began to come down, the sun to set. When we reached the summit, we sat down to watch this tremendous sight of the sun going down behind the mountains. And as we watched, my friend very suddenly and violently vomited. Some of us think life's a bit like that. It isn't, you know. Life, well, it's rather like opening a tin of sardines. We're all of us looking for the key. Some of us think we found the key, don't we? Oh, we think we found the key. We roll back the lid of the sardine tin of life. We reveal the sardines, the riches of life therein. We get them out, we enjoy them. But you know, there's always a little bit in the corner that you can't get out. I wonder, is there a little bit in the corner of your life? I know there is in mine. And so now, I draw to a close. We prepare to go out into the world. I want you, in times of trouble and sorrow and hopelessness and despair, amid the hurly-burly of modern life, if ever you're tempted to say, "Oh, stuff this for a lark," I want you then to remember for comfort, the words of my first text to you tonight. But my brother Iso is an hairy man, but I am a smooth man.
Sustain we now description of a time when petty lust and overweening tyranny offend the ruck of state. Thus fly we now, as oft with Phoebus did fair Easterdo unto fair Flanders court, where is the warlike Warwick, like to the mole that sat on Hector's brow, fair set for England and for war.
And so we bid you welcome to our court, fair cousin Albany, and you our sweetest Essex. Take this my hand, and you, fair Essex, this, and with this bond we'll cry anon, and shout Jack Cock of London to the foe.
Jack Cock of London.
Approach your ears and kindly bend your conscience to my peace. Our ruddy scouts to me this hefty news have brought. The naughty English, expecting now some pregnancy in our plan, have with some haughty purpose bent Aeolus unto the service of their sail. So even now, while we to the white and blue to strut, his brutish bowling broke, and fare upon some fickle circumstance.
Some fickle circumstance.
Get thee to Gloucester, Essex. Do thee to Wessex, Exeter. Fair Albany to Somerset must eat his root, and Scroope to you to Westmoreland, where shall bold York, and rooted now for Lancaster, with forces of our own Rutland, and join his standard. Fair Sussex. Yeah. Get thee to Warwicksbourne, and there with frowning purpose tell our plan to Bedford's tilted ear. But he shall press with most insensate speed, and join his warlike effort to bold Dorset's side. I, most royally, shall now to bed, to sleep off all the nonsense I've just said. Is it botched up then, Master Puke?
Aye, merry indeed, good Master Snot. 'Tis said our master the Duke hath contrived some naughtiness against his son the King.
Aye, and it doth confound our merrymaking.
What say you, Master Puke? I am for Lancaster, and that's to say for good shoe leather.
Come, speak, good Master Puke, or hath the leather blocked up thy tongue?
Oh, why then, go trippingly upon thy laces, good Grip.
Our leather laces thy undoing.
I shall undo many a fair boot this day.
Let's to our royal revel, and with our song enchant our king.
Oh, death is free, my shroud hath he, and pretty drawn my poor last soul. So flee me now to Pluto's realm, and in his arms shall I go.
Wise words in mouths of fools do oft themselves belie. Good fool, shall Essex prosper?
I prosper.
Do you prosper, fool?
I prosper.
Very then, methinks we'll prosper. And saying prosper, do we say to cut the knot which crafty nature hath within our bowels locked up. But soft, and who comes here?
Oh, good my lord! Unstop your ear and yet prepare to yield the optic tear to my experience. Such news I bring us only can crack up the casket of your soul. Not 6 miles hence there grows an oak whose natty fuse engendered in the bosky wood that phrase itself most impudent towards the sultry shore. So saying did they die, and dying
Oh God, this was most gravely undertaken. And undertaken that this ox gravely answered it. Why then we'll muster, and to the field of battle go, and unto them our English sinews show.
Entertained, and so by steel shall this our contest now be buckled up. Come, sir, let's toot.
Let's toot. But steel thou shalt thyself in himself, thyself in bother.
A hit!
No, sir, no, hit the miss. Come, sir, publish in the mouth.
Up the mouth, then publish the steel.
Oh, God! Fair cousin, thou hast done me wrong.
Twixt gut and bladder interposed.
Oh, saucy Worcester. Dost thou lie so still?
No help mortality, her tithe collected, and sovereign Albany to the worms his course committed, yet weep we not. This austere life is short. Let's on to pontifract, to sanctify our court.
How will it be, this end of which you have spoken, Brother M.M.?
Aye, how will it be?
Well, it will be as 'twere a mighty rending in the sky, you see, and the mountains shall sink and the valleys shall rise, and great will be the tumult thereof, I should imagine.
Will the veil of the temple be rent in twain?
I hope so. I'm looking forward to that.
And will there be a mighty wind?
Certainly there will be a mighty wind, if the word of God is anything to go by.
And will this wind be so mighty as to lay low the mountains of the earth?
No, it will not be quite as mighty as that. That is why we've come up on the mountain, you stupid nit, to be speaking.
All right, then, when will it be?
Aye, when?
In about 30 seconds' time, according to the ancient pyramidic scrolls.
We'd better compose ourselves.
What a wonderful idea. 15 seconds.
Here, have you got the picnic basket?
Yes.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Now is the end, perish the woe.
It was GMT, wasn't it? Well, it's not quite the conflagration we'd been banking on. Never mind, lads. Same time tomorrow. We must get a winner one day.